The frozen planet, 650 words. The wind screamed across the white desert. The world was nothing but snow, ice, and silence. Every breath turned to frost and drifted away like smoke. Lyra walked slowly, her legs shaking under the heavy storm. Her arms were wrapped around a small bundle, her baby. The child didn't cry anymore. That scared her the most. Days ago, her ship had fallen from the sky. Fire had eaten the wings. Metal had broken like glass. Now only wreckage and frozen corpses were left behind. Lyra's people, the Valari, were once proud and bright. But the war with humans had burned everything. Her world was gone. Her family, gone. Only she and her baby remained. She fell to her knees, gasping for air. The snow bit into her skin like knives. She looked down at her child, and so small, so weak, wrapped in torn cloth. The baby's tiny chest moved slowly, almost not at all. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice cracking. She pressed her lips against the baby's forehead. Her tears froze before they could fall. The sun was gone now. The sky was a dull gray, and the wind howled like a monster. She searched for light, any sign of life, but saw only white emptiness. Her body shook harder. Her strength was fading. She looked at the wreck of her ship one last time. Smoke still rose from it, fading into the storm. Lyra knew they wouldn't survive another night. Her people had always believed in the last warmth, the gentle dream before death takes you. Maybe it was time for her to find that warmth. She sat against a piece of broken metal, curling her body around the baby. She wrapped her torn cloak tighter, hiding the child from the cold wind. Her fingers were numb. She couldn't feel her hands anymore. "It's okay, my little star," she whispered softly. "Sleep. Maybe we'll dream of home." She began to hum, a soft Valari lullaby. It was a song her mother used to sing when the storms came at night. Her voice was weak but warm, and for a moment the baby's hand moved slightly. That tiny motion filled Lyra's heart with pain and love at the same time. She closed her eyes and imagined the blue oceans of her lost world. She imagined warm sunlight and flowers that glowed in the dark. She imagined her mate standing by her side, smiling. The storm grew louder. The metal shelter creaked. Lyra's body became still, her breath slowing. The cold was winning. Her final thought was a whisper in her mind. "At least we'll be together." But then, something changed. A sound. A deep hum, then footsteps, heavy ones. Not Valari, not machine. Someone was walking toward her through the storm. Lyra tried to open her eyes, but they felt frozen shut. She heard a voice, a deep human voice. Hey, can you hear me?" The sound felt like thunder in the quiet snow. A shadow appeared above her, tall, broad, covered in frost. She felt hands, warm, strong hands, lift the baby from her arms. "No, don't," she tried to speak, but her voice was too weak. "Shh," the voice said. "It's all right. I've got you. You're safe now." She felt warmth spread across her body as something wrapped around her shoulders, a thick, heated cloth. Her frozen fingers twitched. Her heartbeat came back, slow but alive. Through blurry eyes, she saw a light. The soft glow of a visor, the mark of a human pilot's suit. A human was holding her child close to his chest, using his body to keep it warm. Lyra stared in disbelief. Her mind screamed, "No, humans hate us." But her heart whispered something else. The man leaned closer. "Hang on," he said. "You're not dying today." His voice was calm, steady, filled with strange kindness. Lyra's eyes fluttered once more. The world faded into darkness, but this time, she didn't feel cold. She felt warmth. And for the first time since the war, she felt a tiny spark of hope. When Lyra opened her eyes, she didn't see snow. She saw metal walls, smooth, glowing faintly orange with heat. Warm air brushed her face. For the first time in days, she could breathe without pain. Her child was beside her, wrapped in thick blankets. Soft light from a small heater made the baby's skin glow a pale blue. She reached out with shaking hands. The baby stirred alive. Tears rolled down her cheeks, then she heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Human. Lyra tensed. Her heart raced. From the doorway, a tall figure stepped in, wiping frost from his shoulders. His suit was torn at the sleeve, his face hidden behind a half-broken visor. When he removed his helmet, Lyra froze. A human. short dark hair, tired eyes, and a scar running from his temple to his jaw. He looked at her, not like an enemy, but like someone seeing life after a long time. "You're awake," he said quietly. "Good." His voice was rough, deep, and strangely gentle. Lyra sat up fast, clutching her baby to her chest. "Don't touch us," she said, her voice trembling. He raised his hands. "Easy, you're safe. I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't believe him. Humans had destroyed her world. They had turned her kind into fugitives, monsters, nothing. But the heat around her, the blankets, the repaired wounds on her arm, they were proof that this man had saved her. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Captain Aaron Hale," he replied. "Salvage team, or what's left of it." He gave a tired smile. "You're lucky I was flying close when the distress signal came through." She looked down. "That signal wasn't mine. My ship's dead." "Then someone up there still wanted you alive," he said. "Because the beacon was fresh," Lyra frowned. That made no sense. Her crew was gone. Who had sent that signal? Aaron knelt near the heater and checked a small pot. The smell of warm soup filled the air. He poured some into a cup and offered it to her. Lyra stared at it, suspicious. He sighed and took a sip himself. "See, not poison, just food." Her stomach twisted with hunger. Slowly, she took it and drank. It burned her throat but filled her with warmth. Silence stretched between them. Only the soft breathing of the child and the hum of the heater could be heard. Finally, Aaron spoke. "Your baby. What's the name?" "Rin," she said softly. "He's all I have left." He smiled faintly. "He's strong." Just like his mother. The words hit her heart like fire. No one had called her strong in years. She looked at him differently now. This human who should have been her enemy, yet saved her life. Outside, the wind howled again, shaking the small shelter. Aaron looked at the walls and frowned. "Storm's back. We'll be stuck here a while." "How long?" she asked. 2, maybe 3 days. "Depends on if the sun comes up again." Lyra glanced toward the window. All she saw was white. Aaron noticed her fear. "Don't worry. The shelter's built tough. Nothing gets through." He said it with confidence, but his eyes told another story. He looked tired, almost haunted. "Why did you save me?" she asked suddenly. Aaron didn't answer at first. He just stared into the heater's flames. Then he said softly, "Because you were still breathing." That was all. No politics, no hatred. Just a simple truth. And it was enough to shake something deep inside her. But the peace didn't last. A sharp sound cut through the air. Clang. Something scraped against the outer wall of the shelter. Aaron's head snapped up. He moved quietly to a control panel and checked the motion radar. A red dot blinked outside the perimeter. "Stay here," he said quickly, grabbing his rifle. Lyra's pulse raced. "What is it?" "Could be an animal," he muttered. "Or something worse." He moved to the door, every step slow, careful. Lyra clutched her child tighter, her heart thundering. Another sound came, louder this time. Metal grinding. Something was out there, circling the shelter. Aaron pressed his ear to the door. The wind roared again, but beneath it he heard it. A faint mechanical whir. His jaw tightened. "That's no animal," he whispered. "It's a drone." Lyra's blood ran cold. A war drone, built to hunt aliens like her. Aaron turned, locking eyes with her. His face was hard now, focused. "Get back," he said. "And whatever happens, keep your child quiet." He loaded his rifle and stepped into the storm. The door slammed shut behind him. The sound of the wind swallowed everything. Lyra held her baby close, whispering prayers into the dark. And outside, under the screaming sky, a lone human faced the ghosts of a war that never truly ended. The door slammed behind Iran, leaving Lyra in silence. Only the wind screamed outside, beating against the metal shelter like angry fists. Lyra sat frozen, her baby pressed close to her chest. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. Each second felt endless. Through the thin wall, she heard faint sounds and her footsteps crunching in the snow. Then the click of a weapon being armed. She wanted to look, to help, but fear kept her still. The last time she had seen a human soldier in armor, her home was burning. Now one of them stood outside, protecting her. A flash of light lit up the window, and bright blue and violent. Then came the sound, boom. Snow and dust rattled the shelter. The baby stirred, crying softly. Lyra whispered, "Shh, shh. It's okay, little one." But she wasn't sure if she believed her own words. Then silence again. Too quiet. Lyra crawled toward the window and peeked out. The storm howled so thickly that shapes twisted in the wind like ghosts. She saw Aaron's faint outline moving through the snow. Slow, cautious. Behind him, something moved. It was tall and sharp, made of metal bones and flickering red lights. Its limbs clicked and turned like knives. She knew that sound of a war drone. Her breath caught. Those machines had slaughtered her people without mercy. Programmed to hunt Valeri's signatures, they never stopped until the target was dead. The drone's sensors flared red as it locked onto her heat signature inside the shelter. A high-pitched hum filled the air as it was charging its weapon. "Aaron!" She screamed through the storm. The human turned just in time. A pulse blast ripped through the snow, hitting near his feet. The explosion threw him backward. Lyra didn't think. She laid her baby down near the heater and ran outside barefoot, the cold biting into her skin like knives. The storm hit her face, but she didn't care. She saw Aaron struggling to get up, blood streaking his face. The drone turned its gun toward him again. Lyra raised her trembling hands. Blue light gathered between her palms, weak at first, then brighter, crackling like living fire. It was her Valari power, the last remnant of her dying race. She shouted a word from her mother tongue and released the energy. The light struck the drone's chest. It screamed, a sound of metal tearing and sparks exploding. The blast pushed her backward, the shockwave throwing snow into the air. When the smoke cleared, the drone was down, melted, burning, silent. Lyra fell to her knees, gasping, her vision blurred. Her hands shook violently. Aaron crawled over, coughing, his voice rough. What was that?" She looked at him, breathing hard. "My power, a gift. Or maybe a curse." Aaron stared at the glowing marks on her hands, like blue veins of fire. He had seen weapons, ships, machines, but never something alive that burned like a star. "You saved me," he said quietly. She gave a weak smile. "You saved me first." For a moment, they just looked at each other, human and alien enemies of an old war, now standing in the same snow, both shaking from cold and fear. Aaron broke the silence first. "We need to move. More of those things could be out there." He picked up a damaged piece of the drone and frowned. "This model's ancient. Shouldn't even be active. Someone reprogrammed it." Lyra's eyes widened. "You mean someone sent it?" "Yeah," he said grimly. "Someone doesn't want either of us alive." They stumbled back into the shelter, their bodies shaking from the cold. Aaron sealed the door and leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Lyra looked at her sleeping child, then back at Aaron. "Why would they attack you?" "You're human." He hesitated before answering. "I wasn't always on their side," he said softly. Lyra didn't ask more. She could see the weight in his eyes. Guilt, loss, maybe even shame. Outside, the storm began to fade. But in the distance, red lights blinked faintly in the snow. 1, 2, 5, then more. More drones awakening under the ice. Lyra held her baby close, whispering, "They're coming." Aaron loaded his weapon and looked out the window, his face hardening again. "Then we fight," he said. "For your child. For both of us." The heater flickered, casting long shadows across the metal walls. Two souls, once enemies, now stood together, as the frozen planet prepared to test their strength once more. Morning came slowly on the frozen planet. The storm was gone, but the silence it left behind was even louder. The snow outside glittered under a pale sun, untouched except for the long trail of broken metal where the drone had fallen. Inside the shelter, warmth hummed softly. Aaron sat near the heater, repairing his rifle with steady hands. His armor was scratched, his face marked with a thin red line where shrapnel had cut him. Lyra watched quietly from the corner, her child sleeping beside her. Every time she looked at Aaron, she remembered the moment he stood between her and death. The human, her former enemy, had fought for her without hesitation. He noticed her gaze. "You should rest," he said without looking up. "I'm fine," she replied softly. "You need rest more than I do." Aaron gave a small smirk. "Humans don't rest much during a storm." He tightened the last bolt and placed the weapon aside. Lyra studied him for a moment. He looked strong, but his eyes told a different story. Tired, lonely, carrying something heavy. She spoke quietly. "You said you weren't always on their side. What did you mean?" Aaron looked into the heater's glow. the flames reflecting in his eyes. "I fought in the Orion War," he said. "We were told your kind started it, that the Valari wanted to wipe out humanity." He paused, exhaling slowly. "But when the fighting ended, I saw what we'd done. Entire worlds turned to ash, children frozen in ruins." His voice cracked slightly, though he tried to hide it. "I left after that. I couldn't be part of it anymore." Lyra's heart ached. For the first time, she saw him not as a soldier, but as a man haunted by his past. She whispered, "I lost everything in that war. My mate, my home, even my faith." They sat in silence, the firelight flickering between them. Two souls once divided by hatred, now bound by the same pain. The child stirred and gave a tiny cry. Lyra lifted him into her arms, rocking him gently. Aaron watched with quiet admiration. "He's strong," he said. "Survived what most adults couldn't." Lyra smiled faintly. "He shouldn't even be alive. He was born the night the war ended, under fire, under death. I think he carries the last light of my people." Aaron stared at her, thoughtful. "Then we protect that light." For a moment, warmth filled the small room, a rare and fragile piece. But it didn't last long. Aaron's scanner beeped. He grabbed it quickly and frowned. "Movement," he muttered. "Farther east. Might be more drones, or worse." Lyra's eyes widened. "How many?" "Too many." He stood, pulling on his gloves. "They're scanning for life signatures. We need to move before they find us, but my child, I'll carry the supplies," he said. "You carry him. We'll find higher ground. There's a ridge 3 clicks from here. The metal ruins might block their sensors." Lyra hesitated, fear gripping her. "And if they see us? Then I'll make sure they don't reach you," Aaron said, his voice firm. She stared at him, disbelief in her eyes. "Why do you care so much? You don't even know me." Aaron looked at her, not with anger, but with quiet conviction. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything," he said softly. "And I won't watch it happen again." Lyra said nothing. Her throat felt tight. The warmth in her chest was strange, something she hadn't felt since before the war. They packed quickly. Aaron handed her a thermal cloak, then slung his rifle over his shoulder. When they opened the door, the cold wind greeted them again, sharp, biting, endless. But this time Lyra didn't shiver. She walked beside him, her baby close to her heart, and for the first time she didn't feel alone. As they made their way through the snow, the sun broke through the clouds, spilling golden light over the white horizon. For a brief moment it felt like hope, but far above them, hidden behind the thin clouds, a dark drone camera blinked red. It zoomed in, locked onto their heat signatures, and transmitted coordinates into the sky. Somewhere in orbit, another machine woke up. Another hunter began to move, and though they didn't know it yet, the real fight for survival had only just begun. The wind had changed. It carried a sound, faint but sharp, the buzzing hum of approaching machines. Aaron froze mid-step, his visor flashing red. He glanced at Lyra. "They found us." Lyra tightened her hold on her child, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. In the distance, black shapes moved through the white storm. Fast, precise, mechanical. The hunter drones, they had no mercy, no hesitation. Only the command to kill. Aaron scanned the area quickly. "There's an old outpost up ahead, and we can make a stand there." He didn't wait for her to reply. He ran. Lyra followed, clutching her baby under her cloak as snow whipped across her face. The sound of engines grew louder, the swarm was closing in. The outpost appeared through the haze, a broken structure half buried in ice. Its metal walls were cracked, but it still offered cover. They rushed inside. Aaron slammed the door shut, breathing hard. He dropped his pack and began setting up defenses, motion mines, flare traps, and thermal barriers. Lyra placed her baby behind a crate, covering him with the last blanket. Her hands trembled as she turned to Aaron. "How long before they reach us?" He glanced at the radar. "A minute. Maybe less," her voice shook. "Can we win?" Aaron's jaw tightened. "We don't have to win. We just have to survive." The sound came first, a sharp metallic scream as the drones broke through the snow. Dozens of red eyes appeared through the storm, moving like ghosts. They surrounded the outpost, their weapons glowing faint blue. Aaron took a deep breath, raised his rifle and whispered, "Let's give them hell." The first blast hit the wall, shaking the entire structure. Aaron fired back, energy bolts cutting through the snow like lightning. 2 drones exploded instantly, falling apart in showers of sparks. Lyra crouched beside him, her palms glowing faint blue. When another drone crawled through the roof, she turned and unleashed a pulse of raw power, a burst of living light that shattered the machine midair. Aaron looked at her in awe. "Remind me never to stand in your way." She almost smiled, but the battle raged on. More drones came, crawling over the ice like metallic insects. Aaron fought with precision, his movements sharp and focused. But there were too many. One blast struck near his leg. He fell, gritting his teeth. Lyra screamed his name and ran toward him. The drone aimed again, straight at her. Without thinking, Aaron rolled and fired, the shot hitting its core dead center. The explosion lit the sky and snow fell like ash. "Are you all right?" she cried. "Yeah," he said, pulling himself up. "Just another scar." The storm roared louder, the air glowing with fire and smoke. The outpost was breaking apart. Their weapons were nearly empty. Lyra looked down at her sleeping baby, untouched, unaware of the chaos. Something inside her changed. Her fear melted into something stronger. She stood tall, eyes blazing blue. Her power flared brighter than before, waves of energy swirling around her. "Get back," she shouted. Aaron hesitated, then stepped aside. Lyra spread her arms, her voice echoing like thunder in the storm. The air exploded with light. The drones screamed as her energy ripped through them, a storm of blue fire and lightning. Each blast tore through the machines, turning the snowfield into a sea of glowing shards. When it was over, silence fell again. Only the sound of wind remained. Lyra collapsed, her body trembling, her glow fading to dim light. Aaron caught her before she hit the ground. "Hey, stay with me," he said, shaking her gently. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but calm. "Did we make it?" He looked around. Nothing moved except the drifting snow. "Yeah," he said softly. "You did it," she smiled faintly, her voice a whisper. "I told you." He carries the last light. Her gaze shifted to her child. Aaron's throat tightened. He looked down at her and said, "You're stronger than you know, Lyra." But she didn't answer. Her head rested against his chest, breathing shallow, silent. Aaron lifted her gently and carried her to the heater, placing her beside her child. He sat there in the fading warmth, staring out the cracked window, knowing it wasn't over. Because far on the horizon, new lights appeared, bigger, faster, colder. Not drones this time. A warship. The storm had ended, but another kind of darkness was coming. And this time, running wouldn't be enough. The night was endless. Cold winds howled outside the ruined outpost, carrying the smell of burnt metal and frozen blood. Aaron sat by the broken heater, watching Lyra's still face. Her skin was pale, her breath weak. Only a faint mist escaped her lips. The child slept beside her, wrapped in the last piece of the emergency blanket. Aaron rubbed his eyes, exhaustion clawing at him. He had fought, bled, and survived. But now silence felt heavier than any battle. He reached out and touched Lyra's hand. It was cold. "Come on," he whispered. "You don't get to leave now. Not after all this." He removed his gloves and pressed her hand to his chest over his heartbeat. "You hear that? That's what you taught me, to keep going even when it hurts." The storm outside faded slowly. The snow stopped falling. A pale sun rose over the white horizon. For the first time in days, light entered the outpost. It touched Lyra's face, and soft and golden, and her fingers twitched. Aaron froze. Then her eyes opened, faintly glowing blue. He let out a shaky breath. "You scared the hell out of me." Lyra blinked slowly, her voice a whisper. Are they gone?" "For now," he said. "You burned them all. You saved us." She tried to sit up, but her strength was gone. Aaron helped her, holding her steady. The warmth of his hands surprised her. It wasn't just physical. It felt alive. "You humans," she murmured. "Your warmth. It's different. It reaches deeper." Aaron smiled faintly. "We're stubborn that way." He made her a drink from melted snow in a small thermal pack. It wasn't much, but she drank it slowly, eyes never leaving his face. "You could have left me," she said softly, "after the battle. But you didn't." Aaron looked at her, his eyes tired but gentle. "I don't leave people behind, especially not someone who fought to save me." Lyra's eyes shimmered, part tears, part light. For a moment, silence filled the room again, peaceful this time, then the radar crackled. Aaron turned, his heart jumping. A signal blinked, faint but clear, a rescue beacon. "Human frequency." He stood up quickly. "It's a Federation ship." "They found us!" Lyra watched him, her expression unreadable. Your people? Will they accept me? Aaron paused. They'll have to, because you're coming with me. She looked at her child, sleeping quietly. He's part of both worlds now. Then we'll make both worlds understand, Aaron said firmly. Outside, the roar of engines grew louder. Through the cracked window, a massive ship descended, shining silver against the morning light. Snow swirled around it like a crown. Aaron helped Lyra stand. She leaned on him, weak but smiling. Together they stepped outside into the cold sunlight. The ship's hatch opened and a team of soldiers ran toward them, human faces filled with shock and relief. Captain Aaron. You're alive, one shouted. Their eyes widened when they saw Lyra, her blue skin glowing faintly in the light, her child in her arms. What the hell? Another whispered. Aaron stood tall. This is Lyra. She's the reason I'm still breathing. Show some respect. There was silence. Then the commander nodded slowly. Understood, sir. Bring them aboard. Lyra looked at Aaron, her eyes filled with quiet wonder. You speak for me. Even when they fear me, he smiled. That's what humans do. We protect what matters. They stepped onto the ship together, leaving behind the frozen wasteland. As the engines lifted them into the sky, Lyra pressed her forehead to the window, watching the icy planet fade below. Her hand found Aaron's fingers intertwining. What happens now? She asked softly. Aaron looked at her, at the woman who had fought, bled, and saved him. Now, he said, we build something better together. Lyra smiled amid a real warm smile. Her child stirred in her arms, cooing softly, small fingers curling in the light. Outside, the stars glimmered like a million tiny fires, a promise of new beginnings. The frozen planet was behind them, but its memory would never fade, because on that cold, dying world, a soldier and an alien mother had proved one simple truth. Human warmth can reach even the coldest hearts in the galaxy. The outpost was half buried under snow. Smoke rose slowly from the burnt drones outside, their metal bodies still glowing faint red under the pale light. Silence had finally returned, heavy, endless, almost holy. Inside, Aaron sat near the small heater, his breath slow and ragged. His armor was cracked. His hand was bleeding, but he didn't care. All he cared about was the woman lying beside him, Lyra, her skin cold, her lips pale blue. And the child wrapped tightly against her chest. Come on, stay with me, he whispered, pressing her hand between his palms. Her fingers were stiff, almost lifeless. Aaron closed his eyes. He had seen many people die, but this hurt more than anything. He unzipped his jacket and pulled her closer, wrapping her and the child inside his arms. His own body heat was fading fast, but he didn't stop. He whispered softly, as if his voice could keep her heart beating. You're safe now. I'm here. Don't leave, not now. Outside, the wind howled one last time, then stopped, and inside a soft cry broke the silence. The child moved. Then Lyra's fingers twitched. Aaron gasped. Lyra? Her eyelids fluttered open. For a second, she looked confused, lost. Then her gaze found him, the human who refused to let her die. You're still here, she whispered weakly. Yeah. Aaron smiled faintly. I'm not that easy to get rid of. Lyra's breathing steadied. She tried to sit up, and Aaron helped her. Her child let out a soft coo, alive, warm. Tears filled her eyes. He survived. He's alive. You both are, Aaron said. And that's all that matters. For a long time, no one spoke. Only the heater's hum and the faint heartbeat of the child filled the silence. Lyra looked at Aaron carefully. This scarred, tired man who had given everything just to keep her and her child alive. She whispered, You humans, you burn like fire. Even in the cold, he looked down, a small smile touching his lips. Guess we're too stubborn to freeze. Suddenly, a faint beeping echoed through the air. Aaron's wrist scanner flickered. A signal, weak but steady. He turned it toward the window. It's a ship, he said in disbelief. Human frequency. Lyra frowned slightly. Your people are coming. Rescue team, Aaron said, standing quickly. They must have tracked my emergency beacon. Lyra held her child closer. And what will they do when they see me? Aaron hesitated, then looked her straight in the eyes. They'll follow my lead. And if they don't? He lifted his rifle. They'll answer to me. Lyra blinked, surprised then touched. Why? She whispered. You owe me nothing. He looked at her, his voice low, steady. I owe you everything. You gave me a reason to fight again. Outside, the rumble grew louder, a massive shadow breaking through the storm clouds. A Federation rescue ship hovered above the snowfield, lights sweeping the white ground. Aaron helped Lyra stand. Her legs shook, but she leaned against him, holding her child tight. Together, they stepped outside. The wind bit at their faces, but this time it didn't feel cruel. It felt alive. The rescue team landed and rushed forward. Captain Aaron? Someone shouted. We thought you were... The soldier stopped mid-sentence when he saw Lyra. Aaron's voice cut through the air. She's with me. She saved my life. Treat her with respect. The soldiers exchanged uncertain looks, then nodded. Lyra stared at Aaron, eyes soft, shining. You fight your own kind for me? She asked. He smiled. I fight for what's right. The ramp of the rescue ship lowered, glowing with warm light. Lyra hesitated for a moment, staring at the open door, then stepped forward. For the first time in years, she wasn't running. She was going home. As the ship lifted into the sky, the frozen planet shrank below, quiet, endless, and forgotten. Lyra looked out the window. Aaron sat beside her, his eyes half closed, exhausted but peaceful. Her child slept between them, his small hand resting on Aaron's arm. Lyra whispered, You gave us warmth when the galaxy turned cold. Aaron opened one eye, smiled faintly. Maybe that's what humanity's meant to do. And as the stars filled the sky, Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling the warmth of a man who had turned a frozen world into hope. Because sometimes, the strongest fire isn't found in suns or machines, but in a single human heart that refuses to stop caring.